This is the Matt Mosley Show.
It is Matt Mosley, the Matt Mosley Show on the E-Radio Network. And now joining us is Cliff Harris, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Cowboys Ring of Honor, of course, and a longtime friend of mine dating back to my days at the Dallas Morning News. And Cliff, I checked in with you earlier today. It's just always so much fun to hear your voice, and I just thought with this new expanded audience all over Louisiana, Arkansas, and of course Texas, it just made sense to get Cliff Harris on. How are you, sir? How are things going?
I'm doing very well, Matt. I know a lot of I'm very thankful, and I'm a blessed guy because a lot of my teammates, are beaten up and not doing as well. And I've been a very fortunate guy actually throughout my life. And I'm very grateful to God for blessing me and playing for the Cowboys. And that was just, I've had a good life so far.
Well, you and Charlie, it's always been fun because the close friendship, the fact that y'all played together and played so well together for all those years. It's in fact, there's a book out about you guys, Cliff and Charlie, and I don't know if y'all had to argue over whose name got to go first. I think you did it appropriately, but it's always been fun over the years because y'all have maintained such a wonderful friendship and to get to know both of you. Although Charlie, the worst thing, Cliff, you remember when I ran afoul of Charlie one time, it was like the Cowboys, they were going to put in the triplets. And I think some of you guys had not been in the Ring of Honor yet. And so Charlie sounded off on Jerry for that. And, Of course, you can imagine me trying to explain to Charlie that I don't write the headlines. I think the headline was Waters rips Jones or something like that.
Oh,
and so, as a young writer, you remember me when I first was coming up. You can imagine I woke up that day hearing Charlie on Norm Hitzkes' show saying, I guess Mosley wants to go write for the National Enquirer.
Oh, my gosh. That sounds like Charlie.
But
he'll still do that to you.
Yeah. So when you first, and I want to talk to you about Ouachita because we've got a whole bunch of folks in Arkadelphia, and the stadium there is named after you, which is so cool.
Yeah.
In fact, when we send this out later today and tomorrow, we'll have a picture of you standing out there in front of the stadium. Let's start there. What from Ouachita Baptist, even though you were having that incredible career there, was it in the back of your mind like, hey, was there a point during that time where you started to think, I think maybe I could do this at the next level? When did that occur to you during your college career?
Well, Matt, I think that young players, if they're not thinking about playing at the pros, no matter what chance they have, then they're not playing to their maximum ability. So no matter what, and I probably, because many scouts came through, of all places, Arkadelphia, Arkansas, and during my playing career, and they either time me in the 40 or things like that, and I was aware that the pros were looking at me during that time. Actually, Gil Brandt told me. Called me one time during the draft and said, Cliff, we're going to draft you in the first 6 rounds. And I was like, holy cow. And then the draft went on till midnight, and I was not drafted. And Gil Brandt called me at 12:05 or something crazy. And I was upset because they told me they were going to draft me. Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, my goodness. And I was really upset. And I said, I'm not going to sign with them because I've been talking to New Orleans. But my coach college coach Benson, Buddy Bob Benson, said, "Cliff, you need to sign with the Cowboys." And so there was Earl Scuddy, who was a writer, a sports writer from El Paso, Texas, flew in that next day, and I signed a contract with the Cowboys. Earl Scuddy, a writer, a sports writer for the El Paso paper. Gil was a man of many talents, and he got people going and got us free agents signed up.
Man, that's and I've heard about like y'all's, signing bonuses and certain, do you remember what Gil assigned you for, or did you?
I'm not even going to tell you. It's just embarrassing. So just embarrassing. It wasn't very much. Not with today's multi-million-dollar salaries they're paying these guys. It's just unbelievable. But life is good. I'm happy that what's happened with me, with the Cowboys, and in business and in life, I've been very, very fortunate, and some of my teammates, are struggling some, and so that shouldn't be that they were in today's world of pro football, they would be multimillionaires too, So
well,
I'm good.
You did a great job, and I remember coming to see y'all. You and Charlie, of course, couldn't just play together and be best friends. Y'all went into business together. Charlie coached, and boy, you were in the oil and gas business, and boy, still go into the office and did and you had a great run there, and so that's been really neat to see over the years. But what was that like, Cliff? When you, you're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You're inducted in 2021. Should have been in way earlier, but that's okay. Now we're making up for lost time. What was that like, though, in 2014 when the stadium was dedicated to you there at Ouachita, Cliff Harris Stadium? That had to be, again, Pro Football Hall of Fame's tough to top with anything, but having a stadium named after you, I would just think that had to be such an unbelievable moment for you. And what is that like to have a structure like that? It's a beautiful stadium, by the way, a wonderful press box. I see pictures. I'm going to go see a game there soon because I really want to check that out. But what was that experience like when they honored you like that?
Well, I can tell you one of the reasons that the Cliff Harris Stadium is because my good friend Kelsey Warren was a major donor in that stadium, and so there was so I was fortunate to have a good friend that put money into that stadium, and that they named it after me, and it's a great stadium, and Ouachita is a great school, and that churns out a lot of great players. Josiah Johnson is one of the young guys that's come out this year, and just went into the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. The coach did, and so. But it's interesting and fun to go back and because it's such a great stadium. And we've got AstroTurf Field around it. At the time, there was a track around it. I ran track at Ouachita too, and but they had to eliminate the track. But they still have a track team there, though they have a different track. But it's a great stadium. Yeah.
Well, and I need friends like Kelsey Warren. By the way, that's a name. Obviously, he's done a lot of things around the Dallas area, but that says a lot about you. But that he would get involved in something like that. But by the way, without even financial backing at all, it deserved to be named Cliff Harris Stadium. I remember when I was a kid going to youth camp there on the Ouachita Baptist campus. We make the trip from Kaufman, Texas, and even as a kid, I knew what Ouachita meant, and because of you, and I was just it And of course, we were chasing, trying to meet all the girls from the different youth groups.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I certainly knew about Cliff Harris. Now, and Cliff Harris, the Cowboys legend, is on the Matt Mosley Show, E-Radio Network. You get to the Cowboys. I'm still amazed at around 1970, you still had to go do some military duty, which is, people don't, that kind of thing, other than one particular Cardinals player, that kind of thing does not happen anymore.
No.
You had to leave the team for a short time. Now, when that happened, Cliff, were you concerned that you might not get your spot back, or had you made enough of an impression that you thought, I think I'll be safe when I come back?
No. There was that was a time that I had a lot of turmoil. Well, actually, Charlie Waters took first of all, Richmond Flowers, who was actually an Olympic hurdler for the University of Tennessee, was second, and he took my spot. He didn't play very well, and then Charlie Waters took my place, and then but I had a chance because of Gil Brandt. The Gil Brandt went to the general of the Fourth Army and got actually in access to a steam bath, talking to him in there, and said, "Hey, this is about this kid that we've got. Can you?" Because I went to active duty in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and I was there as a platoon leader. I was there for 6 weeks or longer than that, maybe 8 weeks during the season, and Gil. And so I was allowed, it's just crazy, I was allowed to come home on Saturday, fly home. They would fly me home, and I would take the trip with the team, but I would sit, and Charlie had my place, but I would play fifth back because I didn't have a chance. I was a rookie,
Yeah.
So I had to sit on the bench, and then and Richmond Flowers was behind me. So that next year, when I came back, I had to, and Charlie took over my spot, and they went to the Super Bowl and lost. And I think if the Cowboys had not lost that Super Bowl and Charlie was the starting free safety, then I probably wouldn't have had a chance to get back in there. But they lost, and Charlie went for an interception on John Mackey and missed it, and they beat us by a little bit. But I came back the next year, and next year we won the Super Bowl and beat Miami in the Super Bowl. So long stories about active duty and
wow.
Fort Polk and everything. What a life!
I would say so. And talking to Cliff Harris, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, our Louisiana audience, you're hitting all the states, serving at Fort Polk. You come back, and by that, Richmond Flowers even rings a bell because you said he went to Tennessee, and I guess he was some kind of speedster, if I remember. I don't remember that far, but I have read about him. And that Bear Bryant got so mad that he was losing players to Tennessee that he went and tried to hire this famous track coach from Baylor. Because he was losing players to Tennessee like Richmond Flowers. Anyway, it just made me think of another story involving the late great Bear Bryant. But okay, so Cliff, as you get in, and what's amazing is for people that don't know this, you in these 10 unbelievable seasons you have this great run for a decade, and you get 4 All Pros, which those are even. I mean, you had tons of Pro Bowls. In fact, I think there are only 5 guys that have played for the Cowboys that went to more Pro Bowls than you did. But the All-Pro is considered, that's the best of the best. And you were on that all-decade team from the 70s, which was what made us so mad that it took you so long to get in the Hall. And Roger would tell you, and he told me over the years, it was because y'all just, if y'all had won one of those Super Bowls against the Steelers, more guys would have gotten in earlier. I think you would probably agree with that. Let me ask you this: during that time, in the 70s, did you hate the Steelers or the Redskins more? Because I mean, those were boy, there were such a major rivalries that formed around those teams.
Well, we played the Redskins. Is their name is the Commodores or Commanders, and we played the Redskins twice a year. So, and we only had to play the Steelers in the big Super Bowl, but I still have, nightmares and cold sweats when I think about, gosh, if I had on my safety blitz, I had only been another couple of inch higher, Rocky Blyer wouldn't have blocked me, just knocked me down just before I could get to Bradshaw and hit him right. It was just a matter of fractions of seconds on a blitz that went for a good pass, and I still have visions and nightmares about it. I don't think about all the good plays I made during my career. I think about all the things. What if I had done that? If I'd only been a couple of inches higher on hurdling Rocky Blyer. I've got a picture of myself hurdling Rocky Blyer, and it's on one of the books. I think it's on the cover of my book, and that Charlie and I wrote. But you can tell I'm way up in the air, and it looks like I'm going to make it over him. But at the last second, he lunges and knocks me down, and Bradshaw got the pass off, and just right before that. So I still am upset about that.
Well, you saved your best for the postseason, because I think in 21 postseason games, you had 6 interceptions. You were known as a vicious hitter back when you imagine what you'd have to do now, Cliff. Like, you almost have to hit people in a little area, right? You can't hit them. Can't go low. You can't go high. None of those rules were in place back then, other than, and even probably but it was a whole different game. But even though you were known as, Crash and known as an unbelievable hitter, you had a ton of interceptions in the postseason. So I thought that was always what separated you, maybe even from some of the other greats, is that you were at your best at those huge moments. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up, it always fascinates me. You and Charlie were, and now I can bring it up. I'm sure back in the day you were having to hide this. But y'all were racing those dirt bikes in the off season.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
I mean, I still can't believe that it wasn't in your contract, or maybe there was a way to get around it. I don't know. But how did that start? Had you already been doing that when you were in high school and college, and had Charlie been doing that? How did that get going?
No, it was actually Dave Edwards, our linebacker, one of our strong side linebacker. Had motorcycles, and there was a Suzuki dealership that we were linked to, and we would ride dirt bikes, and Coach didn't know it, and we would race in the off season in these motocross races, and they were brutal, but we survived. I mean, it was a brutal sport. I mean, pro football is not easy, but to think that we did that, and we did it quietly. I think we even used assumed names when we raced, and that was always fun. I mean, because you got to have an outlet, I think, and if you think about these young guys, I mean, think about me as a young guy, and Charlie's a young guy, and has all this. We were doing all this dangerous lifestyle of pro football. And so you had to maximize it as a form of release in the off season. And boy, we would fly around those, and I'd beat Charlie most of the time in the motocross. So so he doesn't have it. He can't talk about it today.
I just cannot believe it. I could just see Coach Landry's look on his face, I mean, finding something out about that. I cringe even thinking about that. Now, before I let you go here,
and these players today, think about the players today. They wouldn't race motocross.
No, not in a million years. I love that you beat Charlie, and I wish we need to find some old pictures of that. Well, that truly, that's really why you were, that could have been the wrong kind of crash, right?
Yeah, that's right.
This golf tournament coming up, this is a really special deal, and it was inspired. You started your work with diabetes over the years and raising money to fight it. It goes back to your father having it, and I know he lost his vision at some point, and boy, it became something extremely personal to you, and you launched all your significant efforts behind it. I do want to mention this year, and it's always been the Cliff Harris Golf Tournament. It's called the Breakthrough T1D. That's Type 1 Diabetes.
Yes.
Cliff Harris and DeMarcus Ware Golf Tournament. Yeah. And boy, DeMarcus, y'all both are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's joined you in there. The Gold Jackets.
Glad to have him.
Yeah, and he's a great guy, highly energetic guy. So I think that's I think you're you're a standalone guy, but if you're going to team up with somebody, I think he's a good guy to team up with. But this is going to be June 9th at the Stonebriar Country Club.
Yes,
that's
sir.
in Frisco. And that's really, and that goes to the North Texas and Oklahoma chapter. But again, Cliff, this has been an unbelievable tournament. I can't imagine untold millions that you've raised over the years, but I know you're excited about this one coming up.
Oh, I'm very excited about it. DeMarcus is really a good guy. He is a really energized guy, and I'm really thrilled to have him. We're going to bring out some of the former Cowboys and, former Cowboys from my era and from his era are going to be playing in the golf tournament. And it's going to be at, like you were saying, at Stonebriar Country Club. And we're really, really excited about it. My dad was a type 1 diabetic. He was shot down in the South. He was a fighter pilot in World War II, shot down in the South China Sea. Was on a raft for a day and a half or 2 days and survived. And so that's where I kind of get my mentality. And that's why I give that support to type 1D. Breakthrough Type 1D. That's why I'm involved in this, and I'm glad to have DeMarcus, and he's really been a fun guy to coordinate this with too. We'll have a really good time. It'll be a great tournament up at Stonebriar.
Well,
I've had it for 30 years.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. And but that's really cool that two legends. Although you'll have to wave that ring around at DeMarcus a little bit. Although he did get one. He just didn't get it with the Cowboys, did he? He didn't. He had to go elsewhere. But, our next...
I actually got two.
What's that? Oh, I know you do.
Got 5, but only 2 championships, so...
Yeah. Well, you're right. You got 2 of them, and we y'all are knocking at the door and so many more. But I still think the most amazing thing, the last thing I'll bring up with you is just I think one of the most amazing things ever in sports that not enough people talk about is that in a 21-year span, and you were involved in 10 of those or 11 of those, in a 21-year span, the Cowboys went to the NFC Championship game 17 of those 21. That's like unheard of. That's crazy. Wow. And that's why the Landry Cowboys, while I get it that the triplets and all that's great what they did. It's unbelievable. Everybody loves it. But that history right there is amazing. All right, Cliff, I've kept you long enough, and I'm glad you have survived the storms of earlier today. I know you were driving around in some of that, and it's been wild in the Metroplex. But our people all across Louisiana and Arkansas Arkadelphia and up into Little Rock and Fayetteville. They just have absolutely loved this. So I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I'm definitely an Arkansan, born in Fayetteville, Arkansas. My brother and my son both played for the Razorbacks. They missed out on me, but I got to play at Ouachita Baptist, so I'm a very fortunate guy. And I thank you for the interview, Matt. Glad to visit with you.
You bet. There he goes, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Cowboys Ring of Honor, in every Hall of Fame you can imagine. Of course, at Ouachita Baptist, it's Cliff Harris Stadium. Cliff Harris joining the E-Radio Network, the Matt Mosley Show, and very excited to have him. All right, we'll wrap up. Got a little baseball to share with you as the Rangers try to climb out of this morass they've been involved in. That is next.
More Matt Mosley coming up.